Today we're excited to have Dr. Matt Pearce, Superintendent of a public school district, with us. He will talk about his personal leadership style, what it looks like for him to take care of himself so that he can be the best when he's at school. And he'll go into some detail about the rounding that they use in the Republic School District, how it helps to build trust, how it identifies areas that can be improved, and how it has made a lasting impact on the Republic School District.
Welcome to Beyond the Bell, Leading with Purpose, a Lifted sponsored podcast designed to bring encouragement and support to leaders by giving light to the stories and experiences of leaders who are demonstrating leadership in action and making a positive impact every day. I'm Nathan Manley, along with my friend and partner, Jim Cummins. Jim, what's new in your world?
Well, it's an exciting week for us. Busy first part of the week, trying to get some things wrapped up with some school districts. And then Thursday, we're going to see some grandkids in Texas. So excited to spend the weekend with our youngest and a couple of the grandkids. And just, I think this weekend was inspiring, regardless of what your political leanings are. If you got a chance to watch the Charlie Kirk Memorial, just listening to leaders talk about what an inspiration a young person was that was on mission to get something accomplished, and just refreshing to hear people talk positively for a few hours about someone that was committed to a vision. And I know we talk a lot about in these podcasts about leadership, and obviously he understood how to lead a cause. And so it could be a lot to be learned by listening to those folks.
Yeah, that's good. I agree. And just it was clear the values of the inspiration through there. So great week ahead. I'll be in Alton, Illinois, working with a school district with RTI. So I'm excited about that. I've been there before, and great group of staff doing great things for kids. So
It'll be fun.
When Jim and I founded Lifted, our goal was to provide leadership coaching and professional development built on a sustained support model, not on a one-and-done approach. We also wanted to create resources that encourage, inform, and lift up leaders. The Beyond the Bell podcast was born out of that desire. Today, I'm honored to welcome Dr. Matt Pearce, Superintendent of Republic School District. Dr. Pearce is now in his 6th year leading Republic after serving as Assistant Superintendent for 7 years. And this school year marks his 30th in public education. His career spanned from the classroom as a social studies teacher and a coach at Kickapoo High School to assistant principal and principal roles across Springfield School Districts and ultimately into district leadership to Republic. Beyond his professional journey, Dr. Pearce is deeply invested in both the Republic community and the wider educational landscape. He has served as chair of the National Superintendent Executive Council for the American Heart Association, on the local Care to Learn board, and on the executive board of the Missouri Educators Trust. I'm not done. Impacting more than 85 school districts across the state. He also remains active with Missouri Association of School Administrators, serving on multiple committees to help guide educational priorities to Missouri school. On a personal note, I've known of Dr. Pearce and been an acquaintance of his for a while, as I know Jim has as well. But over the past few months, I've had the privilege of getting to know him more closely, as he has served as my mentor in the superintendency. Having the chance to learn from his wisdom and experience has been a real gift to me in my own leadership journey. What also stands out is his strong family connection to Republic. He and his wife, Yvette, have been married for 30 years and raised their 3 children in the district, 2 graduates and 1 still in high school. Their story of living, serving, and investing in the community alongside the school system is a powerful example of leadership rooted in place. What we're excited to hear about today is how Dr. Pearce has put his beliefs into action through stakeholder engagement and open communication. In Republic, he's modeled this through practices like rounding conversations that have helped the voices of the staff, students, and community at the center of decision-making. Dr. Pearce, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be with both of you today.
See, let's jump in. Nathan mentioned your stakeholder engagement. Republic is growing, district's growing, Amazon, just all kinds of things going on. So how do you keep that engagement with the stakeholders and that open line of communication? I think a lot of young leaders maybe focus so much internally, they forget about what's going on around them and the people that invest in the schools. Tell us a little bit about your engagement strategies.
So, a couple things come to mind really that help keep me connected and engaged with our families, teachers, communities. First and foremost, we every month we're at a big chamber meeting, and we'll have anywhere from 90 to 130, 40 people at our chamber meetings. So that's one of the ways that we stay connected. We do about a 5-minute presentation every month about what's happening with the schools, and you're certainly getting to network with all community, local decision makers, business owners, and things like that. There, we also have a group of people that we're kind of rebranding this year, the Roar Academy, and these are parents and community members that are what I would call, excuse me, key communicators, in that connecting with them, getting feedback from them, providing things to them, generally also pays off in that they're communicating with others throughout the community and in our area. So that's another great way. And then certainly a little bit more internally, but also externally too, we do rounding conversations. And so the rounding conversations have been a great thing for me to grow and learn. I did not come across rounding conversations until I think about year 25 in education, and I will honestly say that it's been a game changer in that you're sitting down with whoever you're talking to. It could be a student, could be a parent, could be a community clergy, could be a school board member. You're asking several questions. What's going well for you? Excuse me. What's going well for you? Do you have the resources that you need to conduct your work? Third question would be, do you see any opportunities for improvement that are standing out to you for our district or for a school or for a department or something like that? A fourth question would be, who's somebody that's been super helpful to you that I could recognize? And then the fifth question that I always leave with is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with me? And so asking those questions and getting that two-way communication has been a real game changer for me in connecting with people inside and outside the district.
Yeah, and I love the multifaceted way that you've approached that, because having been a superintendent in a school district with 300 students and one with 5,000, I can tell you that the opportunities to engage the community are different. You mentioned the chamber event. At Neosho, we had that. It was a natural design to be able to go and be around those people. Wheaton, we didn't have that. You had to go out and find. So I love the rounding part, and I think superintendents at any size district can certainly learn from that, where you've gone and found, whether it's a student, how many students would love to have some voice with the superintendent, or clerk, anybody. That does not matter the size of your district. And the Roar Academy that's a great concept where you've intentionally tried to latch on to key communicators so they can help share the message. Yeah.
That's good. So if a couple of things. I wonder about the difference even in your rounding conversations from your first one to now. And if I'm a new superintendent, or I'm thinking about rounding conversations, what advice do you have? Because I would also think you've provided a certain level of comfort in them just asking the question. Sometimes the big guy walks around the school and they ask the question, and people might tell you what you want to hear. And so how do you provide safety and security? And then what advice do you have for starting those conversations?
So I would always advise start slow, start small, start with an internal group. If you're a superintendent, maybe you start with your central office or your leaders in the district or whatever it might be, and kind of hone your skills so that you get a little bit more used to it. And then one of the things that I always do to let people know, because you're right, I think, Nathan, there's a tendency to give the superintendent the positive so that he, thinks you're doing a good job or whatever it might be. And I always try to let people's guard down a little bit by saying, hey, what you say with me is going to remain with me, unless you tell me something like I need a new computer. Well, that's pretty specific. I'm going to have to tell somebody to go,
Yeah.
if you do truly need a new computer, to go get you a new computer. But I always tell them that, hey, this is, with us, if I take feedback back to my team, it'll be generalized and it won't have a name attached to it. And so I try to encourage them to give me the good, the bad, and the ugly, whatever it might be, whatever they need to share. I always try to encourage those open lines of communication. So, you asked a really good little perspective at the beginning of your question there about how has it changed or evolved, or how have I grown? And, when you first started, you really have everything scripted out and written down. And now, after doing hundreds of these conversations, I just know in my mind 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I just write the answers down on the tablet here, and then I take it back and we every Monday, my team as a central office team, we look at at the data, and we look for celebrations, opportunities for improvement, and if there is an opportunity for improvement, is it something that we need to work on now, or is it something that's maybe 6 months down the road?
But in general, I mean, you're not just asking the questions, getting the information, and it's done. You're doing something with the information. So you might go back to your meeting on Monday, and it becomes part of your cadence. It becomes part of your system, and that's probably important for teachers or staff, whoever you're talking to as well, is if we have this information, we have to do something with it. We don't have to do something with it right now, but we have to do something with it. Would you talk about that?
Sure. So that concept, we call it closing the feedback loop. Mm-hmm. And so when you're out and about, so I have 4 other central office leaders that round with me. They don't go with me; they do it on their own. And so we're having those conversations about, hey, what was a celebration? What's an opportunity for improvement? And of those opportunities, what are we going to do? We're having those conversations as a central office team, and then once a quarter, we put something out called our stoplight report, or our rounding report. And the rounding report looks like a stoplight in that it's red, green, and yellow. But the green means that we listened to you and we've already done what you suggested, or we fixed something that needed to be fixed and it's taken care of. Yellow means that we listened and we're talking about it, but we haven't yet necessarily, fixed it or implemented it or whatever it might be. And then red means that we can't do this, and here's why we can't do it now, if that makes sense.
That's good.
So that once a quarter feedback loop, it lets everybody in the district, because it goes to all of our district employees, it lets them know that, hey, they're listening, this is what they're doing, and everybody has an understanding of the questions and the suggestions that we're getting and what we're doing with that information.
Absolutely. There are a couple of things that, first of all, he mentioned that he started slow with central office, and I think that's kind of what we're doing this podcast. Yeah. We're learning by asking people we know and what that have been mentors of ours. So yeah, we're learning as well. I think you hit on a key point that, and you can share your thoughts, but I would say that trust has to be one of the maybe top 5 things that you have to have as a leader. You have to build that. And so you talked about your direction, your intentionality of taking that information, going back to a broader group without names, with just concepts, basically. Talk a little bit about how long maybe it took for that trust to become embedded, because I know that's one of the things as a new leader, history proves whether you can be trusted or not, right? Mm-hmm. You can't just go say, hey, I'm here, you can trust me. They have to see it in action. So how long did you think it, just for somebody that may want to jump into this, and they're like, well, I can't get them to trust me. How many iterations, cycles of them telling you, going and sharing, and them hearing that, hey, this got fixed, but nobody knows I was the one, the messenger. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I think you're right on the money, Jim. Trust is, what's the old saying goes? It's gained in droplets and lost in buckets. And so with the rounding, we started the first year. We just rounded, and we didn't put necessarily metrics to it. We rounded and we listened, and then as we got ready to go for the second year of implementing rounding, that's when we implemented the trying to close the feedback loop with the rounding report. And so, in that first year, each one of us probably had, I'm going to guess, 50 to 75 rounding conversations. So think of 5 central office employees, and then we also asked our building principals to begin implementing rounding as well. And so by year 2, when the first rounding report came out, we had probably met with most of our teammates at least once during the school year and had a rounding conversation. So when we came back year 2 with the rounding report, it was kind of the next logical step to close that feedback loop and make sure that people weren't like, well, I suggested that we get a handicap accessible playground and we haven't gotten that yet. Or my suggestion was to do this with parking spaces at the high school, and we did do that one. Or so trying to get everybody on the same page and just let everybody know. And you're right, and the trust thing is such a valuable part of this, because I'll have people that tell me all the time when we're done, thank you for sitting down and taking 15 minutes or 20 minutes with me. I've never had anybody do that. I've never felt as valued and supported. And so that's why I said, for me, in year 25, rounding has been a game changer because of the trust, because of the authenticity of a conversation one-on-one with whoever it might be. Could be a before and after school childcare worker, could be a custodian, could be a principal, could be an assistant superintendent, could be, whatever. Just brings in that level of understanding and knowing that we care, and that just like everybody else, superintendent or assistant superintendent or principal is a person. And there's not a ton of difference when you boil down to, we're both people and we're sitting here talking.
There's a question on here. How have practices like that influenced your leadership in the district? But you answered so many of those questions right there, and just what you've learned about leadership and what you share with others. And it's not, it can be lonely, but it shouldn't be in isolation.
Yeah, and I think I would piggyback that with, we talk a ton about how do we make our education units, our school districts, a place where people want to come to. And you talk a ton about, are they valued? Are they known? Do they have voice? Is it filling their bucket to come to work every day? And it sounds like these conversations, you're gathering data that's going to make the district better, that's going to better serve students, that's going to help your administrative team. But at the same time, don't you feel like they are getting their bucket filled because you're listening, and they don't see you just as the person in central office. They see you as a human. And I can only guess those conversations go a little bit beyond, hey, we need to change the high school parking lot. What have you seen? Share some anecdotal stories of people that maybe just their well-being has changed, or their joy in coming to work has changed.
Sure. So, right, when you sit down and you have these conversations and you ask those questions can go, the first question is, how is Nate? Tell me what's going well for Nathan today, or tell me what's going well for Jim today. It's wide open. It could be school, it could be family, it could be personal, could be health, could be financial. And so you connect on a different level with people when you break down the barriers about school and what's your job and everything else. And so I've learned of people that paid off their house early. I've learned of people, having grandkids, going to see the grandkids. I've learned of people getting college degrees in their 50s. I've learned of people sharing that they have a bad health diagnosis, and so you connect with people on such a different level when you've had those conversations, and that as a leader, I have found that when you've shared that experience with somebody and then you're back in the building the next time, it's not just a hey, news, weather, and sports, Nathan conversation. It's a hey, Nathan, tell me about your grandkids, or tell me about tell me how the health thing's going, or tell me, what are you doing now that you paid off your house? And so those conversations, and they all go back to trust and relationships, but getting to know my teammates on a different level has been so neat for me. A lot of superintendents, and I would say even myself beforehand, before rounding, I would make the rounds and just talk to people and check in. Hey, you doing okay? And mostly school related stuff. But now that we've implemented rounding, it really has been a game changer for me in terms of getting to know teammates, having that trust and that authenticity piece that really a leader should strive to have.
When I've worked with teams that trust didn't exist, or it was minimal, just because of the culture, just because of those things. And one of the things what I like about the rounding conversation that helps build trust is, hey, let's put the professional stuff away for just a little bit. Let's just talk about seeing each other as humans, seeing each other and watching that happen over time. And then, so if you've got a team out there and you sense that trust isn't there, I would, a rounding conversation or another activity that gets away from just the professional piece and allows people to understand each other on a personal level, to understand that's a father, that's a son, that's a husband. And what that team can do is oftentimes, you've heard me say it 100 times, putting collaboration, putting professional learning communities in place is easy. Putting 5 adults around a table to have them have conversations about their practices, that's when it becomes a challenge. So how do we get to those? I think that's where our heart of what we love, our passion is as well, is, we can develop the professional, but we always want to develop the human. We always want to leave an interaction with us being better and that team or that human being better as well.
Yeah, and I know we got a lot to pull out of Dr. Pearce, so I don't want to get bogged down just in rounding, but I think about listeners. I think about myself in my practice, and especially when I was young, and then even when I was old, it was so easy to get stuck in the things that had to be done. And so you got a new superintendent out there that the world is going 100 miles an hour, things and just time. What are some tips for how to carve out the time, how to make it a priority? Because we all know we can find things that have to be done. So at some point in time, you had to make it a priority with your team. You had to give them that expectation, but you also had to model it and demonstrate it. How did you carve out the time?
So that's a great question, Jim, and valid. So we set the expectation that as a group of leaders in our district, we were going to try to do 6 a month. And so me being the superintendent, and sometimes this kind of comes back and bites me a little bit, but I was going to beat that expectation and I was going to do 8 a month. And so the thing I didn't dive into too much is on the back end of rounding conversations, I always send a note to the person I rounded with, but I always also send a note to the person I rounded with told me was doing a great job. So if I rounded on Nathan and Nathan told me about Jim, hey Nathan, thank you for rounding with me. But then I would send a note to Jim and I would say, hey Jim, Nathan told me that you were doing a great job. just want to say thank you, keep up the great work, go Tigers. And those things they do take time. So finding the time to have the conversation, making the time to have the conversation, but then to also follow up with both people. That's where you really get the bang for your buck. And it's not easy. For me as a superintendent, I ask my administrative assistant to help me in scheduling my rounding conversations. And she knows as long as it's between, this hour and this hour and I can fit it in, I'll go do it. And so she's been super helpful to me in terms of the logistics and getting it set up. And I appreciate Cheryl very much for helping me stay organized. But you have to commit to it. And it's one of those things that you might think, oh my gosh, I've got to get this report to Desi, or I've got to check on this or that, or whatever it might be. But what I've found is those conversations are so meaningful and pay off besides just the one time you have it, that I certainly make time for them now.
So I know we keep talking about this, but Matt keeps bringing out different things. And so even the follow-up of the note, even the things that go with it. We talk about, in fact, we have a question on here, but we talk about wellness quite a bit, and our purpose and what and how do we take care of us. I have to imagine when you think about those hard days, because the easy thing is to get in the office and go through the tasks. The more difficult thing is to have the notes, the follow through, and what it takes. And yet, we can talk about the science of, well, which one actually makes you think better? Which one actually helps you? Which one actually, the way we're wired gives you the positive dopamine hit. So, talk about that. And like when you, what does giving that note as a leader do for you?
Number one, I think it makes me feel good in that I'm thanking people and or recognizing people for the job that they've done. And, you're able to also attach that to maybe your key priorities that you've been working on, or maybe the key priority that person's been working on. And so that's great. But what really is pretty special is when you walk into a teacher's room and you see that note that you've written up on their bulletin board, or right up behind their computer. And then you might see 3 or 4 other ones. Maybe the principal wrote one, maybe you wrote one, maybe the assistant sup wrote one. And it's really neat to see that, because when you are recognizing people for job well done, that leads to, I want to be here. That leads to my school district values me. They value my input. I know that they listen because I see the rounding report every quarter. And I love the old saying that, when you go to the county fair, you guess how many gumballs are in the big gumball thing, or you guess how much the heifer weighs. When you get enough people guessing the right close numbers, you're going to get really close to that when you get to the median or whatever it might be. And so when you get a lot of people recognizing others for job well done, that's going to make people feel good. And many minds are way better than just one mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think when you started, you said you might see three notes on a board. Well, it becomes a little bit of the culture. And and other people are, oh, I want to recognize somebody. And you can kind of create that culture of gratitude and being grateful for the work that others do, instead of that kind of selfish silo type culture that can also be built. I want to just ask a little bit now. You've obviously been successful in leadership. I'm not going to say you're at the end of your career, but you can see the promised land. What were your non-negotiables as a leader? What values that, no matter where you were at, building principal, coming through the ranks, now superintendent of a great district, what are your non-negotiables in leadership?
Oh man, that's such a great question and a loaded question. But I think a few things that stand out to me, first and foremost, treat people the way you want to be treated. Even in difficult situations, treat people the way that you want to be treated. And I've always tried to live with that, be fair, firm, and friendly. The next thing that comes to my mind is having high expectations, because I don't think you can, as a leader, you have to set the bar high, and you have to support people to help get there. And I think that high expectations in today's world is something that I value a lot in other people, but I also try to hold myself accountable to make sure that I have high expectations for the work that we do, the work that I do. And so, those would be probably my two, the two that I really, if I had to boil it down and say, these are the ones, I think those would be my two that I would hang my hat on.
Very good. You got to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Who influenced your leadership style and how?
Boy, another good question. And I would say I would even go back to some of my high school and college coaches for learning how to put the work in. Kevin Byrne was one of my high school football coaches, and then you guys know I played for Andy Reid, and man, you guys talk about a person who will teach you how to work hard and put in the time and the effort and study. We're freshmen in college, and he's given us 5-page tests over the position that you play, but you have to know what everybody else on the line does, and you have to know how the defense is going to line up, and just all sorts of stuff. And coming out of high school, that was not normal to me. So preparation, working hard, and then I also got to listen and learn from people that I worked with. And so I would say a person that I learned a lot about leadership with was when I came to Republic and worked with Chance Wistrom, Dr. Wistrom. So Chance and I had worked together in Springfield, but at separate high schools. And so, you learn things that you watch people do that are really good, and you say, I'm going to repeat that. And then you also see some things you're like, I don't know if that fits me. I don't know that I'm going to do that. And so, I learned from Dan O'Reilly, from Justin Harrell, from Chance Wistrom, and that work ethic piece from my family and from some of my previous coaches, I think are people that I certainly look up to and try to emulate or not emulate based upon what you were seeing.
Speaking of Justin, if you see Justin, say hi to him.
Okay.
We spent the month of June in the dorms at Mizzou while we were going through for our doctorate.
Okay.
So we got to spend a little time together as adults on a college campus. It was a different experience, but if you see him, tell him I said hello.
Will do.
So let's go now to Matt the person, because we all are superintendents, and I used to tell people you're really superintendent 24/7. You don't get to take that hat off like a lot of employees do. How do you keep yourself balanced? How do you unload your backpack? Because some days are heavy with stuff that we deal with. New superintendent, a veteran superintendent that might be struggling right now with just the heaviness of the job. How do you take care of yourself so you can be your best version when you're at school?
So I've definitely changed over the years, because I think I used to come with the mindset that I have to answer every email and I have to do everything to the nth degree to be ready to go for the next day. And what I've learned is that's an awful hard regimen to keep up, and you end up not being in a good spot. To your point, what I have learned is that you have to prioritize, and you have to prioritize your faith and your workout regimen and your gratitude walks or whatever it's going to be that's going to get you thinking of something other than school improvement or what this happened today or how are we going to get better here or what are we going to do there. And so you what I've learned about myself is that if I prioritize my workouts, my faith, my whatever, however it is that you get reset by, you're gonna be better off in the long run by hitting those targets for yourself, so that you can be the best you can be for everyone else. And I don't have the expectation that any employee works 24/7, and then I'm the same way. I just, you can't do that for long stretches of time. And so I would say, prioritization of the things that charge you and reset you. You have to build those into your workday, and you can't let it be, oh, I'll get it on Sunday, or I'll get it at the end of the month,
Right.
or I'll get it on Christmas break, or I'll get it in the summer. That will end up being a not successful way to go. And so you got to build it in there daily, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's, everybody should listen to that, not just leaders, but everybody, taking care of yourself. But one of the things that, now that I'm retired, I think all of us, if you're a good leader, if your heart's in the right place as a leader, you love your team, you care about them, you want to see them be successful. But when you're not with the team anymore, you're going to be with your spouse, your children, your parents. And so how do you not jeopardize those relationships with those people who are going to be with you beyond your role as a leader, and finding that balance? I'm like you felt like you had to do everything, but you come to that realization that your children matter, your spouse matters, and you got to take care of those things too. Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, you got any other questions you want to ask Dr. Pearce? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we maybe better wrap it up. I mean, there's a lot of juice in this one.
Yes, for sure.
If the listeners don't take something away from this, I think they snooze through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. So thank you for sharing your leadership journey, the insights. It just, the rounding thing is powerful, and I remember hearing about it. I think Kearney maybe was doing it while I was going through, and I picked up something at a conference. Another plug for going to conferences and learning what other districts are doing, listening to these podcasts and hearing what leaders are doing, continuing to just develop yourself, but so powerful. So we hope you're encouraged, reminded, just engaging in your communities, getting that stakeholder input, like Dr. Pearce talked about, is so powerful. And just a plug, if your district needs sustainable leadership coaching, financial support, professional development, that's what Nathan and I are committed to doing at this point in our careers. We want to continue to bring positivity through the podcast, but also there to support districts. So until next time, be well and keep leading with purpose beyond the bell.